Welcome, everybody. Guys, this is wonderful. Not only is my family here, but Hernan is here, who's been a lifelong friend. And I'm going to begin at the beginning, and then if I stop in the middle and shift to something else, be aware, okay? First of all, I love Monday nights. I love being with all of you, and I'm going to begin with a little boy. This is going to be for the drawings. Oh, okay. This is for the drawings that I'm doing for Harvey Wiesenberg's book. But it's very different from anything I've ever done before. And here's the reason. We used to go up to Colorado for reunions of people who were adopted from Cambodia. I wasn't able to go on some of them, but the last one that I went to, a woman came in who had adopted a little boy from Cambodia, and he was blind and had multiple problems of movement, etc. And I saw something I had never seen before. When he came in with his mother and his sister, suddenly music began to play and children began to jump up and go to the wheelchair and dance with the wheelchair. And they danced with the wheelchair. So many children and so much joy. And Jazz was laughing because he loves music. I don't know whether he could hear or not, but he could see the joy. And it came to me when I was preparing for tonight that the one thing that is missing for children who have any kind of structural or hearing or any kind of problems, they're neglected by others. And I decided from now on I was going to make these drawings in the name of Chaz, of inclusion. Because maybe, as in my subway painting, what we need is inclusion, and there isn't enough of it. And I've been asking people for advice and getting it, because all of us know things that nobody else knows. And so if you can think of any wonderful way of teaching me how to teach inclusion, let me know, okay? I had, for a long time, I had been planning a book of people I knew whom I had painted who changed the world. Not big people, not important people, but regular people who yet managed to do something which changes so many of us in the world. And I'm going to begin with David Bilgray. David Bilgray is an uncle of mine, was an uncle, was a cousin. I really don't know how he fit into the family hierarchy. But after the Holocaust, my mother searched for people who were left alive. And there was no way. We didn't have internet, we had telephones, but we had no names. And when we came to America in 1948, she found that there was a relative whose name was David Bilgray, who had done a similar search, but he had done a successful one. He traveled a lot, and wherever he went, as he told us, he would look at the telephone books and look for the name Bilgray, which was my mother's maiden name. And I'm going to show David to you. David Bilgray is right here. And his wife Alice is right next to him here. And over here, I have the story written about him. And I'm only going to read a little bit of it. It was written by Willie Weinbaum. Willie and David had gotten together in 1985, which is about 35 years ago. They got together and they decided, through all the people whom David had met and written of, and as he said, went to visit them and gotten a free meal, all these people, through Willie and through David, gathered together in Great Neck, where a Bilgray family member was married to the rabbi. And it was a reunion of such vastness. People came from all over the world. They came. Oh, let me just repeat this, what Willie Weinbaum wrote. The expression, "it's all relative," certainly applied to David and his passion. He was a mensch whose meshugas about mishbuche produced countless mitzvahs and simchas. For those of you who don't know Yiddish, meshuga means crazy. Mensch means a perfect human being. Mishbuche means relatives. Mitzvahs means blessings, and simchas means joyous things. In those days before search engines, family tree sites, email, text, and social media, he somehow kept finding relatives, and many of them then visited New York. Alice and David generously hosted get-togethers, and their apartment and his office were de facto B&Bs for bunches of Bilgrays, Bilgories, etc., etc. And then an idea was hatched that David, the Pied Piper who'd been collecting, contacting, and connecting with cousins for half of his life, would choreograph a full-fledged worldwide family reunion. They came from Ireland, they came from New Zealand, they came from Italy, they came from France. They came from all over, and they met here in Great Neck. The reason why I want to speak so much about David and his wife Alice, who did so much cooking and cleaning for that. We are facing a time now where the children who have been taken away from their families on the border, on our American borders, the northern and the southern, were taken away from their families. Very often no names were produced. The children from toddlers to teenagers were sent into camps, detention camps. Someday they're going to be like the Holocaust survivors. They're going to be searching, is anybody left alive? Do I have family anywhere? And I am speaking of David because someday, maybe among their people, who are mostly Christian, some Muslim, but mostly Christian, will rise up and do what David did and help them find people whom we have taken away from them. And that's the main part of what I wanted to talk about. The next thing is, I had wanted to write a book about people I've painted who have changed the world. And I'm going to be doing that every Monday night. I'm going to pick one person, not leaders, not people you read about, but people like David, who in one part of their lives gave family to people. And next week I'll probably speak of the Hebrew Free Loan Society. Now let me check and see what else I want to talk about. Okay. I promised. I have a wonderful relative.
Would you give a tour of that whole painting, all the people in the video?
I should give a tour of the painting. I would love to. Okay. I would like to speak of my relative over here, Dr. Helen Feiner, whom the family depends upon whenever we need a doctor. We call Helen. But I had a stroke 2 years ago, and Helen was my interpreter. She explained what happened. She explained how it happened. She explained the afterwards. But I needed her father in here as well, because he in South Africa during apartheid was an editor of a Yiddish newspaper and wrote against apartheid. He is right next to Dr. Helen. It's hard for me to see sideways, but...
Can we turn your chair?
No, turn it.
Oh, maybe the painting. Because I can twist, but I can't see if I'm twisting to the right spot. It's good to have family helping.
Yeah, tell what the painting is, too.
Thank you.
Tell what the painting is,
Okay.
too.
Is this better?
Yes, thank you. It's the last painting where I can allow myself to do tiny faces because my eyes are not good anymore. So this is my, what do they call,
Your swan song?
my swan song. Afterwards, I can only do big faces. But here, I could still do little ones. And here is my family. Here is Jessie. Here is Mary. Here is Deidre. Here is Mike. Here is Kenny. Here is Greg. Here is Greg's mother. Here are my triplets. And to speak of the triplets, David called me. Now David, since my David over here, before he became a triplet and became world famous with the movie Three Identical Strangers, he was my nephew and I loved him. But afterwards, he became an adult to me and an incredible friend. And he said, he calls me Tantele, which is Yiddish for little aunt. I am short. What he said was, people need to know you. And they know about your painting, but they don't know how you conquered 3 illnesses which people would not have survived. One of them was lupus, over 40 years ago, when nobody knew what lupus was. And just 2 years ago, I had a stroke, and I fell. I broke my right shoulder, I broke my right hip, and at 88, those are not little things. And I was told I would never walk again. But I don't want to talk about it today. David, I promise you, next week, I will give people reasons of how to overcome breaking things and living anyway. So, David, I promise you, okay? And it's hard for me to talk about something which sounds like boasting, but on the other hand, all of you are stuck at home, and you need to know about healing, okay? Now, let me go to something else. How much time do I have?
Lots of time. 15 minutes.
Okay, do I need to answer any questions?
I'm sorry. I'm going to write asking people about questions now.
Okay.
But you can. Is there more you want to tell about the painting?
Yeah, no, I want to talk about everything.
And talk about
Okay.
everything you're doing.
I want to talk about an article in the New Yorker about the bubonic plague, and I read it, of the amounts of people who died in the streets, how much it was like our plague right now. But at the end of the article it said, but something came out of it, the Renaissance. And I believe there will be a Renaissance after this, because we will have to learn that we need each other. Up to now we've been so busy hating each other. And my son wrote a podcast about when gay people began to come out, the world changed. And it's true. The word homosexual was a word. Now, Greg told me, so far there are 42 separate meanings. And so many of them are my very close friends and family. And they are not homosexuals. They are human beings who are wired in a certain way. They found out just recently autism is a wonderful thing in so many cases, because these people can put things together by wiring, which makes them invaluable in the tech industry. And artists are wired so that they produce things which were never dreamed of. And I believe the Renaissance is coming by people who, like gay people coming out, will also come out and create a Renaissance. And the Renaissance will be people learning their own value. That children, could you reach me my drawing? Thank you.
Do you want me to put it up so they see it?
Yes, thank you. That children who felt because they looked different and had different features, and people took their families away, the children away when they were in the supermarket. One of the kids said to me, when I'm in the supermarket in my wheelchair, don't pull your children away from me. I'm not a monster. I don't hurt people. I just look different. And I'm waiting for the time for these children will be recognized as wonderful, valuable human beings. That would be the Renaissance. And if anybody wants to ask anything, fine. But if any of you can help me, because I want to talk about people who've helped me as well. Should I talk about people who've helped me as well? Okay. Help me. I'm beginning, I have 3 grandchildren. And the first one who helped me is Mary, whom I said, Mary, I don't want to use a cell phone. Why do I have to use a cell phone? Because that means I can never escape. I need thinking time. I need quiet time. I don't want to be on call for everybody. And she explained to me how it works. And then the final sentence that she gave me was, she said, you see, if I want to talk to Jessie, it makes a sound. And I said, but if I don't have the cell phone with me, I wouldn't hear the sound. And she said, you must always carry a cell phone with you. And I said, Mary, you saved my life. It means I won't give anybody my cell phone number. Because in order for me to survive the world, I couldn't carry a cell phone. And then Jessie began to help me with my website. In the website, the way he's going to teach me, I can put the stories in, because in every one of the 91 paintings, now it's 91, it's not 90 anymore, in every one of them, I have a story. And he was able to already do that. And last week I confronted him and I said, Jesse, I made limited edition prints. There was a time when Eric said, Hedy, when you're on the street and anybody wants to buy the painting you're doing, you have to say it's not for sale. But you have to say, instead of it, we're going to do a limited edition print, signed and numbered, and whoever puts a down payment on a print is going to be put into the painting. And I said, Eric, that won't work. People aren't going to buy something they can't see. And he said, you're known in so many areas. You always wanted to do the stock exchange. And they had done 2 exhibits of your work at Francis Tavern Museum. People know you. And you did 3 paintings for Goldman Sachs. Go there. And I thought he was wrong. But I went anyway, and I sat down. I sat down in front of the stock exchange. And the first person who came by said, who knew me, he said, Hedy, is it going to be for sale? And if so, how much will it be? And I said, it's not going to be for sale. But we're going to make a limited edition, signed and numbered, of the painting. And anybody who buys a print is going to be in the painting. And he said, sign me up for 8. And I said, I won't give his name. I could say just the first name. Chris, are you kidding? And he said, no, I'll come down with a check. How much is it? And I said, well, the down payment is $50. And then it's going to be $150 when it's done. And I said, give me 8. Minutes later, somebody came running down and said, I spoke to Chris and he said, I can have number 8 because that's my number 8. That's my lucky number. So sign me up for that. Here's a check. And give him another one, a different number. And at that time, I didn't have a cell phone. Nobody had cell phones. This was in 1985. I quickly packed up everything, all my stuff, and I ran to the nearest telephone. And I called Eric and I said, Eric, it works. And I said to Jesse, how do I show that? After that, I did limited edition prints. How do I show that? I have the names of everybody who bought one and the story of the area. That doesn't fit on a page. And Jesse said, on an internet, there is no such thing as a page. It can be long, endless. And I looked at him, and Jesse, you explain it. How can you explain it?
Explain what specifically?
What you said to me about I can begin with the picture and then work my way down.
Yeah, there's
and keep going until
there's no limit to how much you can put on one page.
There's no limit, he says, on what you can put on one page. That's what my other grandchild said for me. And last night, my third grandchild called, Deirdre. And I said, because she's the one who has so many ideas. She's executive material in how she thinks. And I said, Deirdre, listen to me. I need to make this book, which I'm going to be illustrating from Harvey Wiesenberg. I need to make it be different from any books ever written about children who have special needs, or whatever the term is, because they're still fighting about what term do you use, which does not hurt. I don't know. Let me just say, children who have traits which have given them problems up to now. But once we understand them better, they can live like the rest of us. I want that book to do it. And I want it to be inclusive. I want from now on any drawings that I do about children who have been shut away from the world, to bring them into the world. And Deirdre came up with a solution right away. I'm going to show an outside playing ground, some place where everybody exists. Maybe in front of the United Nations, maybe, I don't know where yet, but that's the idea she gave me. And it's going to be not just like this one, where children are crowding over one child who needed inclusion. But I will create a world where people with no issues that have taken them away from the rest of the world are in the same area, in the same outside world. Not inside, but outside. Now, if you have any questions or any sentences, let me just take one quick look and see. Yeah, because that's going to be the Renaissance coming up. And then I put down, I still have to speak of gratitude. How much time do I have?
3 minutes. A couple minutes.
About gratitude?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. When I had my stroke, they gave me so much medication because my right shoulder was broken and my right hip was broken. And it seemed as if I was swimming all the time and not knowing anything. And one morning I woke up and my head was clear. And I had dreamt that I could never walk again and never paint again. And I reached over to the night table and there was a paper there and a pen, and I wrote my name. My arm could work. Not Hedy Page, but H. Pagramansky, that long signature of mine. And I thought to myself, I woke up with gratitude. Maybe that's what the secret is. Maybe if we feel gratitude, we heal. And I'll talk about that next week because of David, because of my David the triplet, because I promised him. And I'll talk about gratitude.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Can you talk?
Can you all hear me?
Everyone hears you.
It's a
Perfect.
miracle. Greg ordered these things.
What is one thing that you're longing to paint or draw next? Like, what's in the forefront of what you want to do next?
I want to sit on the street in any neighborhood with my equipment and paint. I need to belong to the street again. And Kenny promised me that if it's nearby, he will sit with me. And Jesse promised me he would go to Central Park with me.
And then COVID happened.
And then COVID happened. But it's not going to stay forever.
Yes.
And we're going to New York this week.
And we're going to New York this week.
What I would like to share, Hedy, is that just what I'm seeing now is that you're not sitting on the street the way that you would like to, and that your heart is telling you you'd like to do. But right now, there are people sitting with us and listening that are in Japan. There are people listening to you right now that are in New Zealand. I have a friend listening in Colombia, South America. I had a friend listening right now that was in Puerto Rico. So right now, on this beautiful summer night, you are in the community and in the company of people all around the world because of this incredible, magical seeming technology. So you're not where the heart is used to being, but it's in a new world now, all around the world. So that's with us tonight.
Wow.
You know, then let me put in the message that made me decide to go on Facebook, which I hate. I hate Facebook because I don't know how to work it. If I try to find anything, I have to first hear things that don't connect to me. I have to hear what people eat for breakfast whom I never met and will never meet. But on the other hand, I am sitting here with 4 people I love with all my heart. And I know I'm being listened to many whom I love, who really started me on this. And again, I have to thank Tammy who began it. And you know what? Maybe what I have to learn, and then maybe I will use a cell phone, but maybe I have to learn that every gift creates a problem. And how would I have gotten Jesse to do a website if I didn't clean up all the mess that I made in the container? You see, I made a folder for every painting, and I have huge boxes because sometimes it would be 2 folders or 3 folders, and then I would just put the papers back but not really look where I was putting them. And so when I said to Jesse, it's so easy to do this, just look for the folders and take out what you see. But a lot of them, for example, Francis Tavern, I had a commission to do any painting I wanted to do. And whenever that happened, I would give people some places to pick. And I picked Francis Tavern, and they picked one, but they were friends. And I had a wonderful time doing that painting. And then I had a commission quite a long time later of the owners of Francis Tavern, who wanted me to do a painting of the tavern for them. And they became wonderful friends. First of all, I got wonderful meals. And Francis Tavern had wonderful food. But I also met history. And I wrote a story of that to give to Jackie and Bob Norton. And what I did by mistake, I put that story into the first story and their stories into the other one. And then I gave them to Jesse. And it took me a long time to clean up my mess. I'm done talking.
Anything you want to say in closing?
I love all of you.
Want to say goodbye to everyone?
I want to say goodbye to every one of you. And I want to say thank you. And wherever you are, David Bilgray, there must be thousands of relatives waiting up in heaven to say thank you for finding us.
And you'll see it again next Monday, same time.
Next Monday, same time, but I will obey the little with a triplet, and I will speak about gratitude and about how I healed, and give you ideas of why I love this virus, what it did for me. For the first time in my life, I have freedom to paint, to talk. Goodbye, I love you all.